Somehow we were able to make phone calls and FaceTimes and tell each other Merry Christmas. Wish you were here. Boy, do I miss you. Some people were trapped at the airport, but the rest of us, we ate our Christmas meal and we were grateful. And nobody, don't ask me how, but nobody worshipped the tree like a pagan. Nobody worshipped the tinsel or the garland or the mistletoe. Nobody suddenly became a polytheist or a pagan. Nobody suddenly sacrificed a child at the altar. Somehow we were able once again to just celebrate Christmas. And even though we were very well aware that it wasn't the actual day Jesus was born, because nobody knows what day that is, we figured why not choose a day and be grateful for the greatest story in human history. And somehow most of us had a great time. For all those out there who feared that somehow it was some kind of evil, they suffered without stuff. The rest of us, we got a stocking full. Welcome to the last podcast for 2022 of Brad Stine Has Issues. I can't think of a better gift to give you on Boxing Day than this. Oh, yes, I am so happy to be with my people. It is, in fact, Monday, the day after Christmas. It is Brad Stine Has Issues. I'm God's comic, Brad Stine. This is the podcast where comedy, conservatism, and Christianity collide in a cacophony of clarity. I'm here with my son, Wyatt Leroy Stine. Wyatt loves to be on this podcast because he just loves to be around his old man. Wyatt, I don't know. Can you even breathe with the excitement of being with me today? What? Are you trying to breathe? Is that what it is? Is that the?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah. I couldn't breathe. The excitement was just too great.
Oh, was it? Listen, I got to tell you something. I was shocked that you didn't have to work on Christmas Day at Lowe's. I know for a fact that I had 2 times during the Christmas when I was drinking cocoa and when I was eating up my turkey that I thought to myself, man, I really need a wrench. And I was thinking, I got to go to Lowe's. I thought, well, heck, they're not open. So, son, what did the people who were wrenchless, what did they do to get through Christmas if they had to put together the kids' toys? And you weren't there, son. Why do you feel okay with that on a Christmas day? I feel like Jesus is disappointed in you, son.
Well, I mean, yes, I am the wrench guy, but it's not like I go to every single person's house who needs a wrench, hand delivers that, and it even helps them use it. We gave that practice up in '98.
You know, Wyatt, that Santa does that. If you ask for a wrench for Christmas, Santa would deliver that. Wyatt, if you wanted a power drill, if you wanted a sawzall, Wyatt, if you wanted some double-sided tape that's industrial strength, which is on aisle
10.
Yeah, you'd know what to do if you were asking for Santa. But here you are, supposed to be at Lowe's, supposed to be helping the people who are doing some last-minute shopping, or simply realized they wanted a saw of some kind. You weren't there. I just don't understand why you are so heartless on Christmas Day.
Well, I actually tried to get in to, to sell stuff, but though they locked the doors.
They did?
Yeah.
Or no, it wasn't open.
No, they decided Christmas wouldn't come this year for the children of Lowe's families.
Wyatt, that's a low thing to do, but nevertheless, here we sit. You know what's so great about it, though, on this last podcast of 2022, right after Christmas, I'm so excited to know that Sherry Holtz-Jordan was the first one on. Hey, Sherry.
Huh?
Huh?
Necklace for me.
Dang it.
You... I don't...
Let me keep looking. Danny Herring, she's here. Merry Christmas, Brad and White. Danny Herring lives where, son? You should know by now.
You're right. I should.
She lives in Canada, which means she is where? Probably texting from where right now?
A bunker.
A bunker
underground.
Or a jail cell.
I don't think they let you text in jail cells, but I don't know.
She might whittle herself a little texting unit because she's a bunker type gal in Canada. They learn how to improvise, son. You got to do that. Emma Jemison said there's no sound. How come she's the only one in the entire world listening to this that can't hear me? Everybody else can.
Okay, so confession time.
Okay.
I noticed when we started the stream.
Yeah.
You know how sometimes we get that audio glitch where the audio channel turns off?
No.
We had it happen in that one interview.
Oh.
Well, like halfway through it,
Okay.
I stopped it because the audio died.
Okay.
Well, that glitch happened when we started. I fixed it, though. So that's the first two people who said no sound. The third person, I don't know about, because that was long after I fixed it.
Well, are you saying that they didn't hear some of the things I said?
At the beginning, yeah. The first.
Like what?
I don't know. What have you said in the first minute or so?
Carna Boyd's here. Hello, Brad and White. Hello, all. Thinking I'm number 23 now. Is that true? Was she way down the road? Jim Brano's here. Love the sign, Brad. Whoo! I didn't mention it 'cause I wanted to see if anybody
Oh,
would
don't
do
get him
it.
started in the sign. It'll become the entire podcast.
I have convinced you that I am a professional podcast. I even got my old-fashioned retro gas station sign that says Brad Has Issues. Wyatt, I built that sign. It took me a long time. I had to fashion it out of materials I had bought at Lowe's. I didn't think I could put it together this quickly, but I did. Why, son? Because I wanted to show that Lowe's does have a high quality bottom information and materials that one can get. And if I wanted to get a metal sign, I needed a sheet of metal. I'd look on aisle
15.
Of course. Hey, guess who else is here? Carl Peconin. Greetings from Minnesota, Brad. He's in Minnesota. You know, Minnesota's going to hell in a handbasket. You knew that, right, son?
Sure.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't know much about what's going on anywhere in my life.
Yeah.
Hey,
look, Nick Kress said, nice, Brad. Stine Has Issues sign. He noticed it, too. Nick noticed.
I mean, that's
I love St. Nick.
that's great. It's not like we literally spent 30 minutes today ensuring it was the focal point of the
Sherry
camera.
Holtz Jordan said, great podcast all year. Wyatt, you know she's lying, but aren't we grateful we have people like that in our lives?
Well, that's her Christmas gift to us. It's just the illusion of us being competent.
Oh, you got that right. Tom Cotter, Easter ain't about a bunny. Christmas ain't about Mr. Claus. Tommy C. Note, Michigan. Yep. Jeff Hayes, no gremlins showed up. Well, it did. We had a little glitch, but Wyatt fixed it immediately, which is rare for my son because he has a brain damage.
Hey, sometimes I try.
Earl Shank, he's one of our classics. He's hello from Glens Falls, New York. Ooh, New York has taken a hit. Did you notice that, Wyatt? New York.
New York?
Hear anything about the snowstorm, or were you completely checked out, son?
I mean, I know that there's snow on the entirety of the United States. I'm guessing New York is particularly bad.
Wyatt? Buffalo got its butt kicked.
I didn't think there were any Buffalo left.
Hey, Brad and Wyatt, says Clara Beatty. Let's see. Karen Boyd arbitrarily said Walgreens or CVS. What does that mean? What has happened to Karen that she's starting to sound like she's suffering from Tourette's syndrome? Just arbitrarily, Walgreens, CVS. What does that mean? Son, help me with Karen.
Okay, let's see.
I love Karen. You know that.
Yeah. Walgreens and CVS, aren't those pharmacies primarily?
Yes, but what does that have to do with... She just said it out of the blue. We weren't talking pharmaceutical drugs. And I know you like to. I know you want to. But I say no, son.
If I may, lozenge.
Oh, lozenge.
Yes.
Do you remember we did a whole segment on lozenge once?
Oh, I remember. You remember. The audience probably remembers because we wouldn't shut up about it.
Automatopoeia. Doesn't a lozenge sound like something you're sucking on and soothing your throat?
Surprisingly, I don't often think about the auditory creation of sucking on a scented candy that has medicine in it.
Why, Desi Wilhelm said hello, friends. Forrest Bainey's here. Hi, Brad and Wyatt. Hope you all had a Merry Christmas.
They're saying that Walgreens and CVS are the only places that are open on Christmas Day.
Oh, that's because they're run by atheists. Earl Shank's here. James Lyons came. Eleanor Hutchinson. Brian Winkler. What does the permanent pennant say that's coming off the wall?
Yeah, you know that pennant you have, the triangular felt thing?
Yeah, did it come off?
Yeah, it's coming off.
Aw, Louis Leon.
I can tell how heartbroken you are over it.
Out loud, I'll fix it. That's the way it's going to be. If that's how we're going to run this show, then here, I'll just do it on the fly. There, you happy, folks?
You got to be near the mic so people can hear you complain. Great. Oh, no.
Is that happy? Go. No. You got to go back.
Oh.
Yeah, you can leave now.
Man, I told you, 5 minutes max.
All right, so here's what we got. If you look closely, it's the Brooklyn Dodgers. That was my dad's pennant when he was a kid in the 50s. It's a Brooklyn Dodgers pennant. All right, who's here? Sean Siric. I'm late tonight. Scott Walendowski. Merry Christmas. Just started following and watching. I really enjoyed it. Thanks. You know, Scott Walendowski, I remember I was praying, what was it, 6-8 months ago. And I remember I had this thought that came to me. I said, son, I don't know what this means, but I feel like God is telling me there's a guy named Scott Walendowski that should watch my show, and I don't know what that means. I'm just going to leave it there, and son, well, here he is.
Well, and I remember you telling me that, and my response to you was, I'll never forget this. It was, what on earth are you talking about?
Yeah.
Just get that out of here. I don't need that right now.
And yet,
I guess it came to be.
let me tell you guys what I did today, and I'm going to be very honest with you. I happen to have a little jacuzzi in my house outside.
In the house.
It's not. It's outside. I should have.
We ain't that rich, man.
No, we're not. But my grandson Uriah calls it the hot pool. So we always call it the hot pool because he thought of it. Anyways, we went out in the hot pool, but here's the thing: there's a little pool connected to it, and it is 39 degrees. I immersed myself in the 39-degree cold pool.
And I was smart and didn't.
Then I got out and went into the 102-degree hot pool.
Oh, I remember that.
Wyatt, I don't know if you're aware of this, but they say now that immersing in super cold water and then get into a sauna or hot is healthy for you.
I mean, let's forget. Let's not forget that there was something else that's really good for you. Not dying of hypothermia.
Okay, that's a good point.
Also, I would like to point out that you conveniently left out the part where you made a goal for yourself that you would stay in there for 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
And you got out after 3.
No, it was at least 10, but
it was not. It may have felt like 10, but I assure you, buddy, it was not 10. It wasn't even 5.
It was rough. Okay, let's see.
It's almost like when it's snowing out, it's cold or something.
Well, I know. Hey, guess who else is here? Sean Siriak, Scott Walendowski, Larry Goodall. Good help is hard to find. You got that right. Nick Chris, 107, warmer than Minnesota. Yeah, everything is. Kerry Tudor showed up. Hey there, Brad and White, Kinsman, Ohio, back for the last show of the year. Let me think. Anybody else? Morsha Pointer Reed is here. Joseph Pesega. Brad Stine Has Issues or tissues. Yeah, could be. Anybody else? Barbara Suffolk. Never seen her before. Greetings from East Bernard, Texas. Tenzel Sizemore. He's got tensile strength. And Hayden Smoot. Late, but you're still here. Larry Goodall. We mentioned him. But I need a sound like that for my podcast. Way cool. So see how my podcast sign ideas is taking root. We already have people plagiarizing my ideas. Son, what do we do about plagiarists? And do you have any aisle in Lowe's that teaches somebody to do some attorneying on their spare time so you can sue this guy?
Jeez. I don't think our store specifically has legal counsel, but you might find it in the tool rental area.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Yeah. It says, Melissa Church, answer your little kid in the background to see her grandbaby. I don't know. Because did he get in the camera?
No, he didn't at all. In fact, you were talking to no one the entire time. And I was hoping it wouldn't be brought up again so that you would tell me after the podcast, hey, why am I talking to no one? Fix that next time.
I know. I'm trying to see if there's anybody. William Stevens, just joining. Merry Christmas, and you're a great comedian. You're right. Why? I didn't say it. He did it. Willman said it. I didn't want him to say it. I didn't ask him to say it, nor would I encourage him to say it. But if I'm a great comedian, son, what am I supposed to do with that? I got to live with it.
I'm sorry. I'm just laughing over this comment by Joseph Pesega, who says, Sue me, please.
Ah, he did say that?
Yeah.
Nice.
So I guess that's our new source of revenue this coming year.
Hey, you know what Rick Pistrock said? Don Bongino has started forwarding your comedy stuff. I love it. That's because now why?
It's only English. Don't try too hard.
Listen, I say it that way because I know there's people out there that have speech impediments, and I don't want them to be left out.
And
I'm
you
inclusive, son.
And you want them to feel just as uncomfortable hearing somebody else do it as they probably do talking to other people. I get it.
Do you think people with speech impediments gives a crap? I think they're happy in their own skin. Not their own tongue, but their own skin.
Oh, yeah, but isn't the tongue the part that they're kind of upset about?
Do you know what I've heard?
What?
Nick Kress, or as we like to call him, Saint Nick, said, "I'm in my garage jacuzzi watching Brad Stine Has Issues." The man is in his jacuzzi right now watching his son. That makes me uncomfortable.
Why?
He's not. He's naked.
No, why is that your immediate go-to?
Because he's in his jacuzzi by himself in the garage at night in Minnesota. It's like either that or hang yourself. One of the two things. You're in Minnesota in December. What are your options?
I don't know, but get a sheep or something. That's topical, right?
Hey, Danny Herring said, "I practice Wim Hof method. Submerse in ice water. Good for you." See, she knows. She lives in Canada. She's on the brink of disaster, but she's still hanging in there. Why? Because she submerses herself in freezing cold water, and she happens to wear a bathing suit, as opposed to Nick, who's naked.
But wait, hold on. Yeah. What is you know that some states have stereotypes, like Wisconsin's all about cheese. Texas is all about guns and things being big. California's all about sucking.
Right.
So what's Minnesota's?
About what?
Just a stereotype about it. Like something that you always expect to find there.
Oh.
As I said, cheese, big things, sucking. What's Minnesota?
Oh, but yeah. Minnesota is known for its not having anything appealing.
Oh, sort of like Ohio?
Similar.
I actually saw this company that makes like scented candles based off the 50 states, and the scent that they decided for Ohio was unscented.
Hey, what did I mention to you that we this podcast has grown because of donations? Did I mention to you that all Christmas I was trying to let people know if they wanted to buy Being a Christian Without Being an Idiot, my book that I wrote, I would sign it to people and I would send it to them for $55 donation, and it was tax deductible. Did I mention that?
Oh, yeah, plenty of every podcast.
The reason I say that is for the last 3 weeks, nobody bought one.
Yeah.
Not one.
Yeah.
Now, they want me to be here every Monday. They want me to show up. They want me to deliver this type of insight, comments, and intrigue. They want to laugh. They want some inspiration. They want some interviews. This is all coming, and it's growing. I've reached a place where I got a sign now, Wyatt. A sign, hopefully, that doesn't fall apart like my pen.
You did use the tape, right?
I did, but it was a heavy duty tape. It was heavier.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure you weren't actually hanging it just off of the wall.
No.
Because I would advise you not to do that if you were.
Listen, I just put it up there with the double-sided heavy-duty construction tape, or what they call it, industrial tape, which is on aisle.
Well, I don't think we sell that. That's probably an online-only thing. A special order you got to get online, then have it shipped to the store. About 90% of our products fit that category, and it's the most annoying thing ever to explain to people.
That's why I just have had enough. I've had it up here with Lowe's. Because if I can't get double-sided industrial tape, what am I going to that stinking store for when there's a Home Depot right around the corner?
Well, Home Depot does the same thing. Every convenience store, every hardware store, every home improvement store wants to be the next Amazon.
Let me tell you.
And unfortunately, they aren't.
Yeah.
If only they could realize that, we can get on with our lives.
Listen, I want to tell you something. I saw this week that Stanford University had released a new criteria for the words that are allowed to be used in Stanford.
Okay.
Yeah. So as to not to cause offense. These are words that could hate, could could cut to the quick.
Okay.
Disable somebody emotionally, physically, mentally.
But how do you decide what's offensive when everybody can just say that anything's offensive to them? Who's the authority on
Right,
it?
I got to be honest, I'm offended by that statement.
Well, I'm offended by your offense.
I know it, and that's what offends me the most.
And I'm on the fence about your offense.
Then quit offending. Nevertheless, here's what they said. Are you ready for this, my friends, my fellow friends?
Mm-hmm.
Stanford University published an index of harmful language. Plans to eliminate from the school's websites and computer code, offering terms to be used as replacements. Well, that's sweet. If they're going to just steal language and forbid it like a good old totalitarian that Stanford apparently loves, well, at least they're going to offer some replacements.
You know, this sounds awfully like when PETA tried to do the same thing for certain, like, phrases that they thought were problematic, like, you know, kill two birds with one stone and stuff. And they also had their suggestions for replacements, and if there were anything like what you're about to say, we're in for a treat, folks.
Well, let's see what. Let's dive in, shall we? The Elimination of Harmful Language Initiative, which was reviewed, it's an initiative. This is hard. This is big stuff. When you got to start ripping language apart and redefining it so that everybody can feel comfortable and some self-appointed elite gets to make that call, I think that is the key. And you said it, son. You said it first. And the only reason you could have known this or had this insight is because I'm your dad and you've learned from me. But that's the key. First off, and this is what has to be recognized in America, this is where we're going for 2023. What Stine Has Issues podcast is going to discuss, what I'm going to do when I'm out on the road live. I'm going to be January 15th in Dallas, Fort Worth at Arlington Music Hall. Please come out, fill up that place. I'm starting a tour to show free speech in America. I'm not going to pull any punches. I'm going to joke about everybody, especially people that tell me I can't. I want to do something to retrieve free speech in America. You can do the same thing by buying tickets, showing up, laughing, and listening as we try to retrieve freedom. But we can't do it if we don't come together as one and fight for this ideology and pay out of our pocket if that's necessary. Show up where I have to go. Write the material. Do what is necessary. But the most important thing is to actually legitimately fight back by refusing to ever think twice about this nonsense again, to mock it, to ridicule it, to despise it, to spit on it. It doesn't deserve our allegiance. It needs to be despised. I won't sit still and not try to retrieve freedom and free speech and liberty. So, let's see where these folks went. So it's a multi-phase, multi-year project to address harmful language in IT at Stanford, according to the guide. The guide says its goal is to eliminate many forms of harmful language, including racist, violent, and biased, i.e. disability bias, ethnic slurs, gender bias, implicit bias, sexual bias, language in Stanford website scopes. How about idiot bias? How about censorship bias? How about totalitarian bias? How about bigotry bias? How about race crook bias? How about identifiers bias? How about the bias against self-righteousness, arrogance? How about the bias we have against people who have single-handedly decided they get to control the language in America and how we live? I'm biased against you. You're intolerant towards me. You're dang right I am. I don't tolerate totalitarians. And that's a lot of tuz, Wyatt. Now, it added that it strives to educate people on the impact of words. How about the impact of stealing our words? How about the impact of deciding what words we get to say, whether we agree to or not? Who the heck do you think you are to tell me what I can think, say, and do? I don't care if you're offended. I don't care. You don't make the rules, and your self-righteous arrogance to think that your perspective rules the day only works if Americans cowardly allow this nonsense to continue. 2023 is a day of reckoning. We take back every bit of ground that the left has taken. We will not let you stand. This crap stops, and it stops with a movement of a militia of the mind. We will fight back with integrity, intelligence, insight, wisdom, absolute freedom, free speech, religious liberties, First Amendment, and we will watch leftism rot away in America. Join me, my fellow freedom fighters. There are 10 harmful language sections, and I've already mentioned them, right? Ableist, ageism, colonialism, culturally appropriative, gender-based, imprecise language, institutionalized racism, person-first, violent, and additional considerations. Among the words the university urges people to avoid in the precise language section is the term American. People are instead asked to use U.S. citizen because American typically refers to people from the United States, only thereby insinuating that the U.S. is the most important country in the Americas, and the Americas, the index notes, comprises 42 countries. Does it? Does the Americas comprise 42 countries? What are we talking about? Argentina, Venezuela, is that what we're talking about? Are we talking about Ecuador? What are we talking about? Brazil, is that what we're talking about? Is that part of the Americas that we're talking about? Huh? What else? What else? Because are you saying that if we consider the United States the only superpower kind of still intact, not for long, the only one that's created more freedom for more people than anybody in history, all of these other Americas that you're so concerned about that they're going to be put out because we consider ourselves superior, all the people that are fleeing those other Americas because that sucks over there and they want to come to this one, but we shouldn't assume we're better, then why are these people coming here? They have this beautiful, amazing paradise. They've got this paradise in Venezuela where they wait in line for hours to try to get a piece of bread. Live in your paradise. It's all the same. Or is it a leftist lie? Because make sure you get this straight. Every stinking thing the left speaks, says, does, touches, from voting irregularity to deciding who gets to speak, say, and do, and what were and who were not allowed to criticize. Everything they touch is a lie. Don't do anything a leftist tells you. Despise it. This is the militia of the mind, retrieving America. Other terms deemed harmful in this section include abort, which offers a replacement of cancel or end because of moral concerns about abortion. What do you mean the moral concerns about abortion? You're telling me that abort shouldn't be used because there's moral implications, because it has this sense of abortion attached to it, that it has that element involved. We don't want that to happen because there's people that want to butcher children and they don't want to be reminded of it, so we got to get rid of abort. We're going to say cancel or end. You know why they're calling it cancel or end? Because when you abort a child, you cancel or end it. Those of you who think it's just a clump of cells are canceling or ending or aborting or killing a child. You just proved in your own lunacy that you know what abortion is. So now if you have an abortion, you're killing a baby and you don't care. I'm the problem? I'm the problem in America? I'm the intolerant? You're sick. Okay. Child prostitute is replaced with child who's been trafficked, so the person is not defined by just one characteristic. And Karen is replaced with demanding or entitled white woman. So if I'm a demanding or entitled black woman, or if I'm a demanding or entitled Hispanic woman, or if I'm a demanding or entitled Eskimo woman, Wyatt, well, what do I get to be called?
I don't No, but I find
Then why did I ask?
well, I'm just saying I kind of find it funny that their solution to that word is to replace it with the exact definition of the
word. Yeah, these people
they're not even trying.
are so stupid, Wyatt. And why shouldn't they be? Americans follow into this crap. If you follow anything leftist, you're stupid. You deserve everything you get. You gave away your liberties during the Corona cult. You deserve nothing. You gave it away. Why would you get anything? You know, I got to tell you something. I wrote a joke. 2 jokes in this segment that I read. I've written the jokes. I'm working out my next album, okay? And you do that by getting on stage and playing with it and experimenting and trying to find the thing that works, that's funny, that's tight. You guys have seen me on this podcast the last few weeks in different interviews say this. I believe we've reached a place in America where we can no longer presume that we're all Americans. We're not. We now have to separate between citizens of the United States, born here or raised here with citizenship, or you're an American. An American is one who believes in the Constitution. It cannot be in any way destroyed or circumvented by a leftist cancer. We also believe as an American that this country was founded on a creed that all men are created equal. And that's what it believed. That's why we spent all these hundreds of years trying to make it live up to its creed. Didn't do it right off the bat. Nobody did. Because you're a sinner. You don't do everything right. So you can either decide that you're on the journey to getting better and you want us to judge you where you're going, not where you're at, which is how you want me to judge you. You got to do the same thing for America. 250 years, the most eclectic group of people in human history trying to make us all get along and find some kind of semblance of unity. Yeah, of course there was terrible things that happened. Of course there was slavery. Terrible. We got rid of it. Where's the credit? I sit here and say, in my new comedy album, there are citizens and there are Americans. We're going to have to make a choice. You have to choose a side, draw a line in the sand, and decide which side you're on, because that's where the battle's about to go. And I'm reading Stanford, who said in their latest wokeness, we can't call people Americans anymore because it presumes things. They write my jokes. But the scary thing is these jokes have consequences because they're inculcating them into culture and they are disparaging even the word American. There's nothing left for these people. They don't want anything left. They want to deconstruct everything, criticize everything of the West to leave us with what? Remember, they've got to replace it with something. What is that? Equity? Everybody gets the same? No, that's a lie. Equality, everybody has the same opportunity? Oh, that's way out of line for them because they know some people aren't very good at crap and they're never going to be as good as others, so we can't let that happen. What we want more than anything is power to control you. And how I know that is because these people who we don't know, who we didn't vote for, who didn't we ask for, who pays money to go to Stanford, decided we're going to agree to that. They just have decided on their own they're going to make these rules and that everybody must obey them. Who are these arrogant people? Who the heck are these people? You don't get any of that power unless we give it to them. Are you going to do that? Or are you going to join the militia of the mind? I'm losing it, son. Okay, here we go. All right, under the ableist section, the index urges people to use accessible parking instead of handicap parking, okay? Died by suicide instead of committed suicide. Think about that. Died by suicide instead of committed suicide. The last thing these people did successfully was commit murder. They killed themselves. And now they even want to take that success story and say they just died by suicide. I mean, they accomplished something. They committed the crime and they succeeded. Now we got to take that away and just say they died by suicide. Even their last achievement has to be cast aside for the sake of political correctness. Anonymous review instead of blind review, you know, because Lord knows there's no blind people on earth. And if there are, we don't want to use that word because then they'll be aware they're blind and they'll think they're less than us. And by the way, blind people don't think they're less than us. They live their lives fine. It's only your arrogance and your childlikeness of wanting to treat people like children that has decided for these poor people that they need your support and your help because you could see.
I think the thing that I find more interesting about that is who uses the term blind review anyway?
You're right.
I've never heard that ever.
I know. You know why? You're not blind. It also says people should use unenlightened as a replacement for tone deaf. Tone deaf, by the way, isn't talking about you can't hear. It's just you can't. You're not good at hearing the proper notes.
Yeah,
right?
What?
Person with substance abuse disorder as a replacement for addict. A person with a substance abuse disorder.
Wait. Person with a substance abuse. So you're saying that it's much easier to say 6 really complicated words than just one that means the exact same thing.
It's a substance abuse disorder because we don't want the addict to be aware that he's addicted so that we can keep him stuck in his addiction so that we can pay money for therapists and counselors and drugs and methadone to pay and make money.
Wait, who are they even trying not to offend with that one?
I know, because the people are unconscious on narcotics anyways. They don't care what you call them. The index does not offer an alternative for brave under the culturally appropriate category, but rather cautions against using the word at all. This section also asks that people use a person's name instead of chief or Pocahontas. In the gender-based section, the index says pronouns should be used instead of preferred pronouns because preferred suggests non-binary gender identity is a choice and a preference. It is! You chose it! That's the whole point of this nonsense you've shoved down our throat for the last 5 years. We choose to be non-binary. We choose to not be a male even though I am. I choose to be a woman if I'm not. I choose to have my genitals mutilated to give the illusion that I'm actually this thing that I thought I was because of a mental disorder. You've chosen it, clearly, but let's not bring it up. Wyatt, I can't take this stupidity anymore. What am I going to do, son? What am I going to do?
Yell about it in front of a camera in front of people.
Gives me some sense of addiction.
It definitely does feel like you're making a difference.
Don't I? Let's see. The section further advises against words like freshman, fireman, and congresswoman because the gender binary language does not include everyone. Maybe it doesn't include people who aren't firemen. Maybe it doesn't include people who aren't congresswomen. Maybe it doesn't include people who aren't any of these categories because they're not part of it. That's why they're not included. They're not that. Wyatt, I'm not going to be able to handle this stuff.
Not going to be able to? You haven't gotten past the second word without going on a 5-minute tirade.
Son, is it making any sense? I don't even know what I'm saying.
I mean, it is.
Also advises against using language with violent words, including these terms, including beating a dead horse.
Oh my God. This is PETA. This is PETA straight up, because that's another one they had a problem with.
Pull the trigger, trigger warning, and killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
Oh my God. You know what? We need to replace it with what PETA said, which was feeding 2 birds with 1 scone.
Aww.
Yeah, no.
I think it should be killing 2 cats with 1 stone. That would make more sense and make more productivity.
But cats have 9 lives. You'd have to kill them like 18 times.
Good points. Many of the terms in the index offered longer alternatives for terms that described a person by one characteristic. These terms included replacing immigrant with a person who has immigrated, prisoner with a person who was incarcerated, and homeless person with a person without housing. We're going to call...
You know what? Why stop there? Mm-hmm. Why stop at 4 words? Well, how about homeless? Instead of homeless, why don't we use somebody who doesn't currently have any place with which to sleep in that is denoted by 4 walls, a roof, and a floor, but may at some point if they really try hard. I mean...
Homeless is going to make the people feel less than, feel like they couldn't accomplish life, feel like they don't have what everybody
like they
else
have
has.
Less homes than the average person?
Right, and we don't want to call it housewife, can't say wife, So it's like we're running out of words, but the irony of replacing the one word with the 12 words that always mean exactly the same thing for the most part, but they think that somehow by removing the word that could somehow make them feel less than. Now, folks, I have told you this 1,000 times, and I said it in my last comedy album, Unapologetical. Whoever controls the words controls the people. You cannot, listen to me, you cannot listen to any of this. I understand this isn't Stanford. If you go to Stanford and you are a freshman there, or a fresh woman, or a fresh human, or a fresh carbon unit. I don't give a crap what you call yourself. If you're going to Stanford and you're spending, I don't know, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year, you need to say, I don't believe in any of this, and you're not going to force me to say it or do it if I feel threatened, if I have any type of physical threats, if you try to dock me in allowing me to achieve as I want to with my First Amendment. You need to sue these folks and bury them in bankruptcy. I'm telling you, folks, we have to go after these universities, and they have to be brought to their knees. With those who are alumni who pay need to be told, cut it off. Those who get money from the government, no, not a dime more. Not, I get it. Biden runs the administration runs it. He's going to give money to these people. This is the man that's letting millions and millions of people just rush into our border as an invasion. Nothing is going. As long as that man is here, nothing will change. This nation will not have anything because we have nobody within a constitutional perimeter in this nation that's willing to defend this nation. That's where we're at. It's real. It's true. It's true. We're being invaded by people who hate our nation. And this is the kind of crap that helps it happen because people listen and say, yes, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. We are creating a nation of cowards, ballless cowards who will never be able to maintain this nation's freedom and liberties ever again. Ever again, because they've learned that if they're uncomfortable or something makes them have to adjust or discipline themselves, if they learn that when something is hard on them and they can use that as a catalyst to get stronger, to get better, and to learn to be tolerant of people they disagree with, they're given an opportunity to grow, to be stronger, to work hard, to be brave, to become out as a stronger, well-refined piece of ore that was put into the pressure cooker and into the furnace, and out of it the dross came about, and all the impurities, and pure gold was put out, and an ingot was poured, and it dried, and you were a solid bar. But it only came through the threshing floor. It only came through the heat of the furnace that melted away the crap. It only came because you had to hear things you didn't want to hear, listen to words you didn't want to know, and learn to not let the words define you or affect you, but to say, I'm okay who I am, especially if you're a Christ follower and know you're made in the image of God. You are untouchable. You're Superman. You're Superwoman because you're made in the image of God. That's your identity. If you do that, you can not only retrieve your maturity, your virtue, your strength, your courage, but you can be a man, woman, warrior that goes forth and brings the next generation behind you in your college to become people of valor. It's up to you college kids to fight back, and there must be some pro bono lawyers out there ready to sue the snot out of these people who take away these people's First Amendment rights. It is time for war in America, a militia of the mind, a wisdom to circumvent the fact that the FBI, the CIA now is in cahoots with the political party at hand, who, by the way, seems to have a lot of directives from China. This is a reckoning day for Americans. You can no longer talk about being the government, because you are. You can no longer mention it or bring up the First Amendment or talk about the Constitution or our great heritage. You don't get to talk about it anymore. Now you got to put your boots on, get your freaking ammunition ready, and you got to go to battle. There is no more time for compromise. Make a choice. Are you a citizen of the United States, or are you an American? Make up your mind, because it's getting real. I didn't want to go into that tirade, Wyatt. But before each episode, I said, God, give me your prophets and anointing. You called me to the church. You told me to go to the churches in America and re-energize people who go to church to become actual Christ followers, who learn about the truths of God and the presuppositional worldview that makes America, that honored the Judeo-Christian ethic, what it was, and to make their faith the foundation for everything they are. That's what I was called to do. That's what I do when I go out and do comedy. You think I'm just doing comedy, making some money doing comedy? No, I'm doing it to try to show you what freedom looks like, and you need to come be with me so I know that we're not alone. We have to fight together. So I wanted to make this last Brad Stine Has Issues happy and kind of sweet and inspirational, because we have a wonderful guest on, Sean Mulroney, who's going to inspire you because of his life and what he's gone through and what he's tried to overcome and is continually working on in an area that I don't have the issue. I don't have a weight problem. This man has a serious weight problem, as to 600 pounds. Gigantic. And he's getting through it. He's finding a way through. And you know, it's easy to discount people with weight issues like this. It's easy to mock and ridicule. But I want to find some continuity as a believer, as a Christian, but as an American, to find some common ground with people who are going through things that I don't. And it's too easy, folks, to dismiss these folks. It's too easy to just sort of cast it aside and, make light of it and figure, just listen, just eat right, quit overeating, exercise, because we always find it's much easier to attack people's flaws when they're not ours. So I'm going to talk about him to leave you with this last issues of the year. I want you to be inspired by somebody who's had a difficult challenge in his life, and he's coming through it. I think you're going to be amazed by what he is going through and what he is teaching others who've been there. So, Wyatt, let's give him a little taste of who he is and what he's trying to do.
All right.
Pop in that clip.
You got it. 5 more. Drive with the heels.
Sean Mulroney has come a long way. He's lost 110 pounds since January. This was Sean at his heaviest.
They put me on a scale, 687 pounds. I wanted to die.
And he almost did.
Had infections 17 times, hospitalized 10 times, and almost died twice. This is the result of my bad choices, Mandy.
Sean was addicted to drugs and alcohol as a teenager. Then, at age 21, his addiction switched to fast food.
Ate fast food like it was going out of style. Bad sleep patterns, 3 hours of sleep a night.
When his youngest daughter was born last year, Sean decided to change his lifestyle.
And on December 26th, this past year, my daughter Mackenzie was born, and I seen her come into life, and I said, man, I want to be there for them whenever to walk them down the aisle. I don't want somebody else walking them down the aisle.
Sean started posting videos of his workouts on Facebook, and he touched a nerve.
Sean, I caught your story inspiring me. I'm 48 and over 600 pounds. Any tips? I need this help. I'm tired of being trapped and hiding in the shadows. Thank you so much.
4.5 million people across the globe viewed Sean's videos, many of them who are afraid to leave their home because they're so overweight.
Tell me about this segment of the population that no one really knows about.
93 million Americans suffer from morbid obesity. 30% of my population doesn't even come out of their home. They can't move. They're in fear of the stigmas of judgment. They can't fit into gyms. Clothes aren't made for us.
Your chain gyms that you see a lot has specific equipment in it, and people like Sean can't fit in that equipment. It's not made for them.
Simply getting in and out of a car is a challenge. In Sean's case, his wife has to do the heavy lifting.
I have to do all the driving. I have to coordinate my schedule with him, with his schedule, with the girls' schedules. I also do 99% of the household work. It's like it's a disability. It's a disabled spouse.
They're the same.
Robert Hickman of Florissant heard about Sean.
I had a sense of I need to latch on to this person because they're going to help me change my life.
He's now lost 60 pounds, down from 568 pounds.
I was tired of faking. I was happy, but I wasn't happy.
You're not just trapped in your body, you're trapped in your mind.
And Sean vows once the weight is off, he's not gaining it back.
It's a gross feeling. It's a despairing feeling, despondent, depressed.
Are you ever going back there?
Not in a million years. By the grace of God, I won't go back here.
You know, I got to be honest. I did a joke a few years ago, and we showed it to you, about the difference between fat and short. And I made a joke about fat people at least get to be jolly, and we laughed about Santa, and I said, hey, I'm 5'6", I'm short, I'm the elf. But the whole joke was about the idea of, let's be honest about what is true. Fat people exist, short people exist, tall people exist. Let's always be able to speak truth. And then let's find a way overcome these issues, these problems. Now, that was the joke, and this was many years ago when I did this, probably 2004, where it was Conservative Unleashed, I think is where I did the joke. But I got to be honest. If I'm going to talk to people and try to care about people and put myself in their shoes, I have to talk to them. I got to try to find out what is it that they've gone through. Is it as simple as we think it is? For example, weight. I've been blessed, got good genes. Never had weight. I've had to lose weight at times when I was just not as healthy as I was. But I've never had a problem where I got fat and I couldn't move. And I mean, I've never had that issue. But many people do. And so it's easy just to simply say, fix it. Get the exercise. Quit eating all the cake. Come on, man. And then leave it there. And there's more to it. That's all I wanted to find out. Let's be honest and truthful about people and at least show them a little bit of empathy. So I'm meeting a guy who is trying his best to do this thing, and he's way, he's 500 and something pounds, and he's trying. Maybe people are even mocking the guy while he's trying to do his little thing in the gym, and they're like, what's this fat guy doing there? He's kind of like trying to get better. Isn't that what you asked for me? But when I show up, you guys don't want me to be here. There's so much at stake to being a disciplined man or woman of God, what is expected of you and how you should treat people you don't understand. Not to prejudge, not to presume. And that's what this interview was about. I'm talking in, taking you into places. Some of you out there that watch me, maybe you have some weight issues. Maybe you were trying to work on it. It's hard. You ain't seen this. I'm guessing most of you don't have this kind of problem. So this guy has some insight, some wisdom. And he's got a great heart. And I thought to end 2022, this might be a great inspiration of showing you, because let me tell you, if you haven't seen by the last rant I just did, which I didn't expect, 2023 is going to be a barn burner. Buckle up, because I am going to commit my ministry and this podcast and my show to trying to fight for freedom again in America. I don't know if I can do it, folks. Obviously, we now know that the control of the dissemination of information from Twitter, I mean, the things we have seen that has happened and that the government is doing is totalitarianism. We are literally in a fascist place. We're there. We're there. Not maybe, not it's getting there, not it's getting there. We're there. What do we want to do about it? Well, in 2023, we're going to begin that process, and I'm going to ask you to help me fight and create a militia of the mind that we can fight together as Americans. That's what I'm going to do, my little part, just like you'll do yours. And I hope I inspire you to influence the people that you happen to have access to, your territory that you're responsible for. But for this last podcast for this year, let's go find somebody who's had a very difficult, challenging journey in their life. And let's see what God is doing for them to help them get on the other side of it. I promise you, whether you have weight issues or not, this will be inspiring for you. It's going to teach you some things we can all learn. And that is, how about loving each other and just assuming that everybody's shooting for the best, and some of them need a leg up along the way. Son, let's get to Sean Mulroney and blow people's mind.
All right.
Boom. I found this next guest accidentally I was just minding my own business. You know how I am. I was probably in my prayer closet praying for you people, because I do that regularly. And I see this note on the thread over one of my routines, like you just saw, about fat versus thin, short. And he said that he enjoyed it and he thought it was very right on, spot on. I think it really nailed the issue. It was funny, blah, blah, blah. Well, then I see who it is, and it's somebody who has struggled with weight and is in what they would call, I guess, obese. I will figure out which one is, how do you delineate what the different words are. But he was saying, I liked it. I thought it was funny. I think it made sense. And I have struggled with this, and I have created a group to try to help people overcome this difficulty in their life. And so I thought to myself, well, shoot, I want to bring this guy on because I've said this to you guys before. A lot of times in America, some difficult thing happens, like a George Floyd is killed. And you'll hear everybody say, we need a national conversation about race. And as I've told you guys before, you can't have one. Because if I come in as a white guy and say, I don't understand this, I'm called a racist. If I say, I'm ignorant about that, can you enlighten me? Can you educate me? Can we try to understand this at a deeper level and help me, even if I was insensitive? I didn't do it on purpose. But let's try to find some truth and some solutions. You're not even allowed to do that. Basically, when people say they want a national conversation, what they're really saying is, shut up, listen to me, and obey. And I don't do that. I'm not going to do that until I don't exist anymore. They're have to jail me or kill me before I ever become a slave. So that giant setup that I just gave you guys is because we're going to talk about overweight humans, because they're all over the world. And one thing I've noticed is we have a tendency as humans to be more critical and less forgiving of people who have a struggle that isn't ours. I've never had a weight problem, so it's easy for me to say, don't eat, hey, exercise. Now, that is true. Don't eat, exercise, you'll lose weight. That's simply biology. But obviously, if it was that easy, everybody'd do it. So there's more to it, and that's what I want to discuss. And I'm going to have a national conversation with someone who's not afraid to allow me to say, yeah, I'm fat, and here's how I'm approaching it. And that, my friends, is what maturity looks like, free speech looks like, and what true Americans should be able to do if we're ever going to find a way to agree, to move forward, and try to find a positive solutions to challenges in our culture. So I am bringing on a man who started his own concept. We'll find out what it is exactly called, the Obesity Revolution. It's a website. You can go look, and I think has some ways of people coming together, talking about it, and trying to give each other support as they go through this part of their life. So his name is Sean Mulroney, and he is on air right now. Here we go. Hey, Sean, how are you,
What's
my brother?
happening, Brad?
Hey, not much, buddy. Thank you so much for coming on. I apologize for the super long intro, but I wanted to get people.
Hey, good stuff.
No, I just wanted them to know what was going on. And, I want to say, first off, I don't know you. We just messed for a second, but I appreciate, this seems like an odd thing to say. I mean, but I appreciate your courage to come on and simply say, look, let's talk about this thing. And what I mean by that is I do appreciate your courage. What bothers me, Sean, is I don't think it should take courage for people to talk about issues that are real, that are simply here, and we can't ignore it. So we can either complain, we can either, wipe our hands of it, or we can see if we can help each other, which is, I'm a Christian. I don't know if you have a religious belief.
Yes,
but,
I am.
Okay, so as a believer,
yes.
so then okay, so we're brothers in Christ. I didn't know that, but that means that we have an obligation to help each other, to assist each other, to try to find healing to each other. But that
absolutely,
it doesn't mean that we sugarcoat the hard parts. So, Sean, why don't we just start quickly with you just giving just a brief, well, you do whatever you want, but a little brief history of your life, and kind of what brought you to this place where you find yourself assisting other people who have weight issues.
Well, Brad, I want to first thank you for having me on and, allowing my voice to be heard. I sometimes binge watch all your videos. I just, like how you pull it together is just epic. I mean, it's golden. I mean, and I thank God for it. Because people just have too thin a skin, and, we got to get, strong. I mean, that's what I feel, is that sort of a 30,000 foot view of my life is at a young age, I was abused sexually and verbally. Got into drugs and alcohol at the age of 6. My dad died when I was 6, and I'm the youngest of 5 kids. So I got through it. I grew up in the north side of Pittsburgh, is where I was, concrete jungle. And I learned, I walked the streets very young. And so I went down this road of leading one thing to another, being, with obesity, you say, obesity is complex. Eat less, move more. If that was the case, I've lost millions of pounds, because it's more than that. Genetics, plays a part in it. Hormones. When I got my hormone test, my estrogen was through the roof. My testosterone is tanked. So you need that testosterone in order to, and all 5 of my fat burning hormones are off. Plus I just did genetic testing. So my thing is that at an early age, I played sports. I was very excelled in sports, especially baseball. And that kept me, going. This is in the 70s and 80s, and I played all the way up until I was 18. Well, I gave up the drugs and alcohol and, bad eating habits, eating late at night, drinking tons of Pepsi. You do that. But here's the thing. My thing is I know people that are 140 pounds that eat as much as an overweight people is assumed to eat. You follow what I'm saying? And that's where we come off, is that, okay, listen to me, fat, well, it is what it is. And so what I've had to do is come through that I would not change one thing about my life, because it has made me to who I am. Because it's like I got set up. Things don't happen to us, they happen for us. And I'm a firm believer of that, because me to be able to strive towards this and find out that my obesity or my fat, and, I'm not fat, I have fat, but it is what it is. So just like people, it's not about, the outside. And you said that in your comedy sketch. You said, thin people, just because somebody's thin, it doesn't make them better looking or better than a fat person. So it is what it is. Like, here's the thing, me, to mock is to manage. I always beat, people. When I speak in front of audiences, I tell this, I say, how many of you know me? And how many of you don't know me? They raised their hands. And I said, well, just fine. I get the skinniest person, I bring them up. I said, so guess what? Whenever I get nervous, I swell. So as soon as my nerves calm down, I'm going to be as big as he is. So it's that me to come to that, to say, okay, here it is. And so what I've learned in stride, my highest weight was 687. And last year I was in the hospital. I've had 28 infections because of my lymphedema. And that's another factor. Lymphedema is, my lymph system is completely compromised, and I have the mass on the inside of my leg that I can lose all around her, but I gain last year 200 pounds overnight of water fluid. And I went in there and I lost 140 pounds in 3 days, and I got the rest of it off being in the hospital, and I was in rehab for 16 weeks. And through that, lost my mobility. So what had happened was my pain got turned into a purpose. And so by the grace of God, I don't, get it. Being social media famous is like being rich in Monopoly, to be quite honest. And we had 63 million views of all my videos. And it's been amazing, Brad, to see the people that I've given courage. And then our trainer, his name is, I'm slipping my mind. Our trainer is Robert Reams. Robert Reams has been in the health and fitness and nutrition industry for 40 years. And he is the head trainer for the Dr. Phil show. He is now our head trainer, still Dr. Phil's trainer, still to the celebrities and all that. But through all this, we came together, and now he's given us the tools. So in a nutshell, sympathy is what builds the bridge. So I have sympathy. A lot of people have sent me their videos of them getting out of bed for the first time. I mean, they haven't walked in months or even years. And by the grace of God, I get to be a spokesperson to lead people out of this, just like Moses did the children of Israel. And I know it's a high calling, but yeah, I'm called to reconcile people, number one, to Christ, but also to think of themselves, love thy neighbor as thyself. Well, why don't you make sure that you love yourself for who you are and where you're at before you start beginning? Because people get this destination syndrome and they think, well, I'll be happy when I get all my weight off. I'll be happy whenever I get a lot of money. No, I need to be happy in the feet where my feet are now and accept that. And so what happened was, now we have a thing, sympathy builds the bridge. And there's been a big gap with the health and fitness industry, medical, and obesity. Obesity is the last acceptable prejudice.
Yeah.
So you're allowed to be, you did that to yourself. And why is it a scale, if I want a bariatric scale, they cost $2,000 to $4,000. Well, my wife did searching when I needed a scale, and she found a scale for $230. You know what it was? A livestock scale. So it's okay. We're punished if we're fat or obese. But the animals, but we can't get an MRI. We can't get a CAT scan. But here's how I've had a doctor say, well, if you want to go to the zoo, you could go there, and Ellie the elephant has, a way to get a CAT scan, but they won't put that into us because we're deemed. And you know what? I'm proud to say I'm obese. I'm fat. I'm where I'm at. I am nowhere near. I lost 200 pounds. And I'm super excited about that, but I have a long way to go. But at the same time, helping people through the desert, through the pain, and it's been just absolutely amazing. And Robert's empathy. He suffered with obesity as a child, but at 13 he got all of his weight off and never went back since. And so what happened was, he is the empathy. And that's what gets us over the bridge. So what I feel, I'm the answer to lead people to the answer that are struggling with obesity. They're afraid to talk because 75% of America is obese. 30 million, people don't come out. 30 million people in the United States haven't been out of their house in who knows how long. And what my videos are doing is reaching them to see, wait a minute, and how he's taking it, the attitude. Life's an attitude. You know what I'm saying, Brad?
Right.
It's an attitude.
Let me ask you this then. So there's a couple things I wanted to kind of sort of get some boundaries here so that we're all speaking the same language and everybody can understand. So Number one, you said I have fat, but I'm not fat. Is that the way you described it? I don't.
Now, mind you, I am fat.
You have? Okay.
But me as here's the thing, not that it's political correct, not nothing, but I got to view it as I have fat.
Okay.
I can't let it define me is
Right.
how what I mean by that.
So if you say I'm
I
fat
am.
as opposed to I have it, then it becomes a personalized, almost an
Absolutely.
intrinsic attribute that you can't fix. Whereas if you say
Absolutely.
I'm fat, that's something you can discard because it's not a personal part of your existence.
Yeah,
It's
because
simply
somebody
a-
says fat. Think about it. I'm like, man, I'm fat. You know, it's like that way. No, you have fat. Fat is a word. Take it or leave it. You got to accept it for what it is.
Yeah.
And you got to accept yourself where you're at.
Yes. Well, tell me about a couple of things. Number one, you first reached out to me because of the video we just showed a little bit ago. And so part of what I was trying to say, and this was, like I said, this was, man, close to almost 20 years ago when I did this. So this is long before woke culture had existed. It was before cancel culture. It was for the power of the internet to change narratives, to censor different viewpoints, all the things that have become true about America and is destroying America and will be our complete destruction.
Yes.
Is if we can no longer be free to dissent against the Marxist ideology that's truly ruling academia and everything else. I don't want to get off on that side note because that's not what we're here to talk about. But the reason I referenced it was because what I was trying to say was, number one, I want to be able to talk about anything. And so when you find it a taboo subject, which now is considered, if somebody is offended by it or feels threatened by it or feels personalized by it, then it's off limits. And my thinking is not if you want to be free.
Right.
Now, if you want to have a world that is so sensitive to no one ever accidentally stumbling upon having to face ideas and information that they're not comfortable with, if that's the world you want, you can have it. Matter of fact, you can see what it looks like. It's in China right now, where they literally tell the people you don't get to go anywhere because of Corona, and we will literally weld the doors for the exit out so you can't get out of your apartment, because that's what totalitarianism is. They control everything, your thoughts, your ideas, your everything. And so that's why it's so important for me that truth is spoken, and comedy is supposed to be able to say anything. And yeah, it's going to offend some people. Yep, it's going to tick some people off. Yeah, it's going to make somebody uncomfortable. That's the point, because comedy was the equalizer, where there was the monarch, the royalty, and then the peasant. And comedy could make fun of the king, not get your head cut off so you can speak. And it would kind of equalize, hey, we're all just kind of in the same boat here, trying to figure it out. That was what comedy was for. And that means it's going to get uncomfortable sometimes. The hope of comedy is there's a spoonful of sugar, no offense, but there's a spoonful of sugar in that, because you can swallow that medicine a little bit easier because there's some humor attached. Okay, so long drawn out preface to this question. I felt like I've never had a weight issue. There was one time in my life where I had gained some weight. A lot of that had to do though with drinking and other things, which I've been sober for 5 years, so I don't have that part of it that I have to negotiate. And alcohol's horrible if you want to lose weight. You can't drink really. But I felt like if you are fat, then you have kind of two ways to look at it. One, decide I don't want to be this way, and then there's things you can do to change it. It's going to be very difficult. Going to be very difficult. But there are things you can do to change it. Or, hang on a second, I just got, somehow we lost our view. Did I lose you? I may have. I think I lost my my guy. There he is. There you go. I don't know what happened, brother.
I don't either.
Obviously, China doesn't want us speaking about obesity. China is their whole thing is eat rice.
Yes,
And
be done with it.
Become our slaves.
Yeah.
Anyways, so what I was hoping to do was to say to the fat person, and by the way, this is another thing that they'll tell us in woke culture or the woke,
yes,
is that if you aren't of that ilk, you can't comment on it. If you're not a woman, you can't comment about being pregnant. If you're not fat, you can't talk about fat people. I don't believe that. Now, obviously, and I've said this in my shows, there's a difference between maliciously attacking somebody. Hey, you're fat and ugly, you stupid idiot.
Absolutely.
That's a different thing. You're just being mean to people. But if I say fat people exist, it's true. And then I referenced it with, I'm 5'6", so I'm short. So if somebody says you're short, should I be offended? Should I say you're not allowed to say that anymore? Or is it simply true? But what happens is, are you going to let it defeat you or drive you? What are you going to do with that information that they just delivered? Because they don't have any power over you. You have power over you. And if you know God, he can come in and give you power you don't even possess. So I wanted to say to the fat guy, if you really hate it, then you have to change your diet and you're going to have to exercise. That's the only way you can lose weight. I mean, there's surgery for people that are really in difficult times. There's even some help, I guess, in some surgery. I said, or just be fat and don't worry about it. I don't care. I'm fat. Here's how I'm going to. That's your choice.
Is what it is.
Yeah. And so, and either way, so the thing that I wanted, so and I obviously you can't speak for every person that's in your situation, but how do you feel about how do you reference yourself? Obese, fat, just so I don't.
It doesn't really matter.
The easiest, funniest way to say it is the fat guy.
Yeah,
which, like I said, is Santa, so everybody loves Santa. So as a fat guy, what allowed you to watch that routine and find the humor in it, as opposed to perhaps another guy in your situation that is offended by it and is disturbed by it and believes it shouldn't even be allowed to be uttered on social media? What's the difference about who you are and that you discovered that allows you to navigate that without being hindered by it or hamstrung by it, but say, look, I thought it was funny?
Well, think about this. Number one, back a little bit, I have a T-shirt and it says fat guy sweating. So whenever I worked out, I started doing that. I wore that shirt, fat guy sweating. So what I wanted to do is that it is what it is. And what people aren't willing to do to accept the truth. Yeah. Truth crushed to the earth will always rise again. Truth will always be vindicated. So my greatest thing that caused me to go forward was this. There is great strength in vulnerability. I am strong. And by the way, it's a biblical principle. Jesus, they were taught, yet when I am weak, Paul said, then is he strong. His strength is made perfect in our weakness. That's why we have to come to him as a sinner. And that's the most vulnerable thing is I'm lost and I need to accept you. Well, I think that's the same thing with life and how we accept it and how we look at it. And my greatest thing was whenever I went to the gym for the first time over years when I'm 687 pounds and I went out and found a trainer. No trainers would work with me. They didn't know how, except this one. And I am indebted to him. He took me on when nobody else was. But it was more than that. It wasn't just going to the gym. Although, going to the gym's part of it. Eating right's part of it. Here's the really awesome thing, Brad. Everybody automatically assumes because you're fat, obese, whatever you want to call it, that you're unhealthy. Well, it is for the bones and all that. It's not good. I'm not going to stay here. See, I'm not fat positive. I'm human being positive. If me saying I'm fat offends you, and the skinniest people get offended by it. I'm like, what are you getting offended by me saying well, you shouldn't be making fun. No, I say go take a hike. I am who I am, and I don't care what people think about me. And my greatest thing was I was afraid that I put that video my day at the gym, first day working out, I did the battle ropes. And all my trainer said was he's going to do an assessment on me. Well, that was a lie. You know, that day my hair hurt, my fingernails hurt. And what happened was I said, hey, could you do me a favor? I wanted to put myself so far out there that I couldn't come back. I said, take a video of me doing these battle ropes, and I want to share it with my friends and family on Facebook. Little did I know, it got 1.3 million views by the next day. And ever since that my pain turned into this completely incredible purpose and calling to help people, not only physically, but the mental. If your mind's not in shape, your body's not going to get in shape. No matter how long it takes, it's not, you know, the journey is amazing. And I'm not where I want to be, but I'm exactly where I need to be.
Yes. Well, I remember reading somewhere about a fat guy was writing down some things that they struggle with, or that maybe a skinny guy doesn't understand. And frankly, how many skinny people really are there in the U.S.? I'm not saying they're obese. There's a lot of people that just are not in good shape, but as long as they'll look at you and go, well, I'm better than that guy.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Like, dude, I don't care if you're 50 pounds overweight, you're obese. You're
exactly.
So, you know, so one of the things that he said, and I thought was interesting, was he said, you know, it's funny, you guys will look at us and say, yeah, man, you ought to go to the gym. I said, and then we go to the gym, and everybody looks at us like, what the heck are you doing at the gym? You're making us all, you know, making us all uncomfortable. Get out of here, man. It's like, come on.
And nothing fits us over 300 pounds. Nothing fits.
Yeah. And so, but I remember, I'm just going to be honest, because like I said, I believe that a real national conversation on things means to kind of expose your own prejudices, your own challenges as a human and as a Christian, to confess your sins one to another so that you can find healing. Okay. Mm-hmm. I've seen people walking on trails or whatever that are fat. And I would think, oh my God, that person's fat. I mean, it's like a knee-jerk reaction when you see a fat person. Like, oh, it's just hideous. But I would thank God, and I hope it's some indication that I have a smidgen of trying to be a godlike man, is I would stop and say, well, wait a minute, though. They're trying. At least they're walking, man. I mean, the dude's, well, how else is he going to lose? Got to start somewhere. And when I start, I'm going to be fat when I'm first working out. Yeah. That's why I'm here, to lose it. And I can't lose it if I ain't here.
That's right.
That's kind of, but I found that my own hypocrisy in that. I remember he had a sermon years ago, a pastor saying, we tend to judge people by what they do, but we judge ourselves by our intentions.
Yes.
I thought that was so interesting, because we're so quick to look at a fat guy and go, come on, man, seriously, lose your weight. Meanwhile, I'm drunk, right? I'm an alcoholic, I'm doing drugs, I'm sexually, promiscuous. Who knows what my crap is? That I'll give myself a pass, because I mean well, but not that guy. What do you think it is about fat that seems to be such an easy target and almost an insensitivity to what perhaps these people are struggling with that we don't know? But like you said earlier, it seems to be many other categories are off limits, but fat guy, be my guest. What do you think it is about fat that somehow gives people permission to be kind of rude towards them, as though you don't have feelings or there's not a heart inside there?
One word: assumption. And my whole mission is to create awareness and kill the assumptions. So here's the thing. You said really great stuff about, hey, if I'm an alcoholic, I'm promiscuous, I'm doing all this, but I'm 687. You know what I do is I share my story. I says everybody has a 687-pound problem. The difference between mine and yours is we can't see yours. It's an open target.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you relate and say, wait a minute, is it me? It's me. I'm responsible for me. And can't let outside things affect me. And I got to quit trying to control the uncontrollables. That's why we get frustrated. So my whole thing, Brad, is I want to do a comparison that I'm working on right now as far as a video type thing. And what I'm doing is I have somebody that I know that's 150 pounds, maybe 160 pounds, and they're in great shape. They're just got the genetics. Genetics plays a part. Just because somebody has never worked out, you see people all the time, they hit the genetic lottery.
Yeah.
Now, I hit the genetic, trash thing for whatever it is, just like cancer and all these things, is that now medical and science is starting to catch up because of raising awareness and saying people that are fat need to speak up and say, call me what you will, but I am Sean Mulroney that has fat. And I am who I am, but I'm a person. I got red blood coursing through my veins. I got a breath, and I matter.
Yeah.
You got to matter to yourself before people start. Well, you matter to others.
I think that's a very truthful element of the scripture. Love your neighbor as yourself, and we always see that as how I'm supposed to love my neighbor without realizing. As yourself. If you hate yourself, you hate your neighbor.
That's
you're not a good human. So the whole idea is, now, again, as a Christian, we have a different category framework. When we say love ourselves, that's not in a self-righteous, prideful way.
No,
it's saying, I'm made in the image of God.
Right.
I'm made in the image of God.
Yes.
God loves me. I have a heavenly Father that cares about me. He cares about
and wonderfully
me
made. Yes.
Fat. He cares about me if I have cancer. He cares about me, but he also knows that my people, my lineage, the human race, followed a sinful path and created all this crap that we live with because of a result of a fallen nature. So you try to have empathy for these people, but you have to, it's a discipline. It's easy to mock and ridicule somebody else, especially if it makes you feel better about yourself.
Yes, it does.
So it's really your own brokenness that isn't grappling with your own crap. And so, well, why don't I just project this onto this guy and then I'm good? And I wonder, you said you were molested, I think, as a child, sexually abused. And I do know I know for a lot of women who have weight issues, that's a very similar story, and the weight is a subconscious means of them fending off aggressive males. It's like, well, he's not going to be attracted to this, so I'm safe. Now, I'm not trying to psychoanalyze you or whatever, but clearly, if you have an emotional critical break in your youth, and you're especially young, it's going to work in your psyche, even if you don't know what's going on. And so I'm wondering if you believe, because this is your community, I think the easy go-to is you guys are fat because you overeat and you can't stop eating. Would you say that is a 50-50, or do you believe that the majority of people that have serious weight, like you, not just the guy that's over, but obviously has a serious problem, there is a much deeper root that perhaps people who don't struggle with that can be more empathetic and try to at least assist these people instead of just, casting them aside as worthless? Is there something that you've noticed in your group that is very consistent with oftentimes what comes with this kind of obesity?
Now, yes, absolutely, 1,000%. So look at it this way: you get the people. It's automatically to where, okay, people overeat. Well, I have never eaten a full pizza before. Automatically assumed, oh man, well, I go to a restaurant, everybody's looking at me and waiting for me to eat them and the restaurant and, whatever. If I go to a buffet, you stay here for hours. And like I said, they're going to think and they assume, but you think about it. Why is it praised when a person that I mentioned, 160 pounds, can go and eat me under the table? And everybody assumes whenever I used to go, me speak in engagements and people make a meal, they automatically think, man, I'm going to put the spread out. And when I don't eat what they think I should, they get offended. And they asked my wife before, many times, is that, doesn't he eat more? She goes, no. And the underlying issue, Brad, think about this. If I can gain 80 pounds overnight, don't you think there's something wrong?
Yeah, that's crazy.
If I can gain 200 pounds overnight.
I don't even know how that's possible. Where does the weight come from?
So let me give you a little 30,000-foot view. My lymphatic system, your lymphatics, is right below your surface, fights infection. Your immune system is your lymph system is very vital. It does not have a pump like a heart pumping through the veins. You got to get the fluid from the bottom all the way up so the heart could pump it out. So what I have on my right side, even in my abdomen, is, you take a hose and you crimp it, or they're soldered shut, if you will. And that water doesn't go through and it fills a buildup. And you know what happens when you get buildup? You see a lake or a pond of water that's stagnant, doesn't move, and it starts growing stuff. I start growing bacteria and getting 28 infections and 26 hospitalizations and almost dying 3 times, twice from sepsis and another time for allergic reaction because of an antibiotic. So what you do is that, okay, here I am, but if I go there in front of a person, just like this man I'm telling about, we're going to do a comparison. And my doctor's going to help with this. He's going to get my blood work and he's going to get that other man's blood work, okay? And he's going to read the results. And what I'm going to do at the end of it, I'm going to say which one of us has high blood pressure, which one of us have bad cholesterol, which one of us have the blood sugar out the wazoo. I want to know. And so guess what they're going to do? Oh, the fat man. Come on, the fat man. Well, let me tell you this. Listen to this. It's genetics. My A1C is 5.1, no medication. My good cholesterol, bad cholesterol is beyond perfect. My blood pressure is 112 over 65. No medication whatsoever. I am healthy as all except my body. Insulin resistance is another thing. Leptin resistance. So my body fights insulin like it's an enemy. And the fat that I've had over the years, it's in a land all by itself. It doesn't go anywhere, and it remains there to be a breeding bed for bacteria.
And you've seen in a lot of other folks that are at the weight rate that you are, that usually have the same genetic malfunction.
Yes, but the thing that's the problem is their doctors say no, just eat less and move more.
So they're trying to do it. The weight's not coming off. They might even be gaining weight. They now
Why
they go,
should I?
Yes. Wait a minute. If I'm literally killing myself trying to do what you've asked me, and it's actually working the opposite, I give up. Obviously, you would be, boy, a human being can survive torture. A human being can survive difficulty. A human being can survive attacks, sickness, challenges, hatred. There's lots of things a human being can overcome. You cannot defeat hopelessness. And when you lose hope, you kill yourself. That's every single suicide. The guy gave up. I'm done. I'm out. And that's that. So clearly the mind has something to do with it. I think it's interesting that you say that oftentimes there is a genetic element to it that we do need to at least presume could be possible. And one thing I think that can prove that point, I think was really interesting what you talked about, how you don't eat what people think you would. Because you're right, a fat guy, okay, he's gonna sit down and have two. And by the way, in the old days, when the fat guy was in the sideshow, and they'd sell the postcards afterwards, they would always say, for breakfast, he has 3 complete turkeys, 7 bags of potato. I mean, they'd have this crazy,
I know,
obviously, and obviously they didn't. But what is interesting, I just thought of this, is if you look at the best champion competitive eaters, none of them are fat.
Well, that guy that eats the hot dogs, whatever.
Right, Joey Chestnut.
Joey Chestnut.
He can eat 50 whatever it is, 70 hot dogs. Now he has a big stomach at that moment because it's filled, but he's not. And there for a while there was a Japanese guy, I forgot his name, but I don't know, 125 pounds, could out eat you 3 times.
Absolutely.
Because genetically, I guess, their stomach can stretch or whatever. So all I'm doing is confirming that the amount you eat does not necessarily equate to how big you are. And certainly we know, I've worked out pretty much my whole life. So I've read and tried to study about exercise and this and that. And we know that there are different ectomorph and endomorph and different types of body structures.
Absolutely.
You have long muscles that attach to your ligaments, and those that have shorter. And so there are people who are just what we used to call big boned or thick or hefty, who even if they got to the most ideal weight they could, would still kind of look thicker because their body's shaped that way. There's nothing they can do about it. They're never going to be a petite model. Never.
No.
Because their body's thick and, they're like a Viking or something. So let me ask you this then. Is there a way, or the best approach, let's put it to you like this, because I do want to talk about your obesity revolution, which sounds to me like it's not only just sort of a group that comes together and supports each other, but I think you've got some books perhaps, or at least some recipes, or maybe just, I don't know, I'm not going to presume. We'll find out in a second. But first, how would you recommend someone who sees a loved one who's clearly got weight issues? What is the approach that is the most effective and helpful if you're trying to encourage somebody? And the truth is, buddy, for example, a guy can't go to his wife and say, hey, you're fat or you're losing weight, because she's going to be so insulted and take that, even if it's true, because she doesn't want to hear it. So it's not like it's easy. I'm just saying, just from a personal experience, and I'm married and my wife's not obese at all. She gained weight like most women do over time and after they've had kids, but not in horrible, unhealthy way, but could lose weight just like I could. But it's kind of like if I go to someone I love and say, you're on meth, get off meth. Hey, buddy, it's a big deal. I'm stuck. I'm in heroin. I'm an addict. Hey, you're an alcoholic. Quit. Okay, well, wish it was that simple, because the reason sin works is because it's pleasurable.
Right. For a season.
For a season. But I wouldn't drink if it didn't feel good. I wouldn't do heroin if it didn't feel good. I wouldn't. And there are people who medicate with food. That's how
Of
they
course,
feel better about themselves.
binge eating is a true thing.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
so if I were to come to someone who's got this issue that I love and I don't know how to help them, do you presume that most people that have weight problems know it and are ashamed and wish they could fix it? And B, tell us how to approach somebody that in a way that you think would be positive and potentially inspire them to help them so they see you're alongside of them, wanting to assist them as opposed to judging them. If you can answer those two questions.
That's phenomenal. So first thing I tell a person that reaches out to me and I have a meeting with or whatever that struggles and hasn't been out of their home, because they'll reach out to me. I've had so many. I always say, quit looking for excuses and find the explanation. And nobody's going to do this for you. Number one, you got to quit thinking that somebody's going to do that or is a hindrance to you. No, I am the hindrance. Not because my family member, but here's the thing. My family member, my wife, is my biggest supporter. We've been married for 25 years. Have 3 precious daughters. I'm a girl dad through and through. They changed my life. And part of it that helped create my why. And if you don't have a why that makes you cry, you're not going to do it. You don't have intrinsic motivation that comes from the crawl, from the fire in the belly, then you're just not going to do it. But you've got to get that mind. You also got to deal with the spiritual aspect of things. If I don't deal with myself as a trichotomy, Brad, I'm doing myself an injustice. Mm. If I just focus on my body but forget about my mind, then guess what? I'm not doing my body right. If I focus on the spiritual and just go and eat whatever I want to and say, yeah, well, God will take care of it, that's ludicrous. But here's the greatest thing that I have seen and have helped people. If you're condescending or judgmental, you're going to drive people further away from you than you can look at. If you come to them as an approach and say, let's do this together. Hey, let's work together. Like my sister told me, I'm the youngest of 5 kids. My sister helped raise me pretty much. And she's like my best friend in the world. She's like my sister and my mom rolled up in one. But she told me, she said, Sean, you go find something and I'll pay for it. Not having money is an excuse. And there's always a way. Like I didn't have the money to hire a trainer. I called a gym 3 miles away from my home and begged the receptionist to have a trainer that I can talk to that I need to work with. And that's what I did. They're not going to fall from the sky. There's not going to be some kind of cosmic genie that says, okay, rub it and make a wish. And guess what? You're going to be, skinny. You're going to be, perfectly built. Well, there's a reason for everything. All things work together for good to them that love God, to them are the called according to his purpose. Doesn't mean all things are good. Mean all things work together. Like, you like a nice hot roll, right? I mean, there's nothing better than a hot biscuit. But I don't eat yeast by itself. Nasty. I don't eat baking soda by itself, or sugar or salt at that, or even an egg, a raw egg. But if you put them together, it makes something incredible. And when you learn to accept the things that you have gone through, rather than reject and push further away, and when somebody's there to reciprocate love by saying, you do this, you need to lose weight, and that's what my stepdad did all my life. He ridiculed me, and you know what? The verbal abuse I got all my teenage years and from 8 all the way up until I left for college was him saying how worthless I am And when you tell somebody that, guess what they do? They start believing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so what you come to them, don't approach them from somebody that because you've never been overweight. Like if you, Brad, say, for instance, we're coming and you and I, you knew me whenever I was, at my heaviest, and would have been awesome to say, man, Sean, you're an incredible person. And I love you. And he says, have you thought of anything about, doing something? I have that and I have respect. Build a relationship, though, before you judge. Make sure you have that kind of relationship with the person and not just anybody say, do this. So my whole thing, and I'll say this, I had a TV show, My 600-Pound Life, and I mention it. They reached out to me 6 times, want me on the show. Okay. And I said, yeah, I'll do that. I said, on one condition. Doctor now follows me around for 30 days and watches what I eat every day. And I keep and him and I showing him what I eat instead of him saying, like he wrote a book, the scale doesn't lie, people do. Well, that's the stigma that's attached, is that we haven't lied, or we do. So guess what we do? We feel like we are going to. And you know what? I've been put on a liquid diet and gained 20 pounds. I was on a liquid diet for 6 weeks. And so what happened is they exploit. They bring in I've had 6 friends that have been on the show. And I told them. And what they did was to get views brings a mass amount of food in the camera. Watch the person go into the shower naked, because people like that sensationalism. And it doesn't need to be sensationalized. It already is what it is. It needs to be answered. And instead of a doctor learning about nothing about obesity or lymphedema, for that fact, they spend a whole week maybe on lymphedema and or obesity and say, oh, it leads to diabetes. That's all they say, or you're very unhealthy. So here's the thing. Go to somebody from a non-judgmental standpoint and in a loving way, that they create loving limits and that they know that you care about them. And even go a step further. How can I help?
Yeah.
What can I do for you?
Yeah.
Let's do this together. Come on. And that was what my wife did to me, Brad.
I love that. How can I help? Because then the person realizes I'm on your side here. I'm not trying to just sort of say good luck. I think there's one piece of that dynamic, though, that's going to take a real deep, disciplined, spiritual Christian life. If you really love this person, like you said, and you come to them with that empathy and true concern, and you say, I want to walk with you, and you tell me how to help you, I'll do anything I can. All that is beautiful and amazing. There's only one piece of that puzzle that you cannot do as that partner. Make that person care enough to do the work themselves. They will have to reach a point for some reason where they go, okay, I'm ready to start this thing. And if they choose not to, which could happen, this is going to be the hardest thing. If you love them, especially if it's a spouse, you're going to have to give it to God and say, well, then I guess I get a fat person. I get a fat wife. I guess I get a fat husband, and I'm just going to love them. And I would wish they weren't that way for health reasons. And I think it'd just be better for our relationship, maybe, if they could walk in the park with me. But what if they say no? What if that person says, I don't think I can do it, and I don't really know I want to start that? You kind of, I don't know how you can accept it and you can give them that grace, but that's going to be tough. Because
it is tough.
Then you're going to feel like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do at this point. And
No.
That's going to be a difficult road.
It's personal responsibility, Brad.
Yeah.
I'm accountable for so can I share this real quick with you? I came up the acronym for obesity. The O stands for overcome the mind. The B stands for become a better version of yourself. The E is to embrace your situation, mentally, physically, and spiritually. The E is embrace your situation. The S is stabilize your environment and your habits. The I is intrinsic motivation. And the Y is you are responsible and accountable for yourself.
You skipped the T.
Oh, transform your steps one step at a time. You can't do it any longer. That's what's changed my life is I don't look at the 1,000 stairs I got to go up. I'm only looking at this step right now.
Right.
Because small tweaks lead to great peaks.
Well, and people, I think, sometimes do give up because they just feel like there's too far to go, instead of saying, you realize that if you walk from this side of the room to that side and back, you're better than yesterday when you didn't. You've actually accomplished something, and that is enough. I think there's a double-edged sword to guys being, how much do you weigh now?
I am about 525.
Okay. So somebody that weighs that much, 525, and you can walk, I mean, you can kind of get around it.
Well, here's the thing. Last year, if you would have told me this, I got an infection and lost all the function of my lower body.
Oh, okay.
So I had to go to rehab. I am back at it now, but it's been a long path.
Okay. Well,
but it's been the best thing. That 16 weeks, I couldn't see my family. It was Thanksgiving last year, Christmas, my daughter's birthday. And I was all by myself between just me and God and my two therapists. And it was the greatest thing that I ever experienced. It was like I was on the backside of the desert and Jesus set himself, like as we said. And that's what I felt like it was for me, that 16 weeks turned me and made me better. But I thought, wait, I had my mobility up until a year and a half ago. And then all of a sudden, lymphedema. My issue isn't my obesity.
Right.
My issue is my lymphedema that causes my obesity.
Yeah.
There's something that you got to figure out.
Right. And I mean, I don't even know what the fix is on that, if there's a way to have that surgically altered, or if you just have to kind of lose.
They're starting to catch up. Well, they're starting to catch up, very far from it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, so I guess what I was kind of exploring there was you start somewhere, even on a small step, but that makes you feel better, because oftentimes we're real good as humans at condemning ourselves when we fail. We're really good at that. Oh, I failed you, Lord. If you're a Christian, if you're seeking God, I'm a sinner, I'm a wretch. Why do you even put up with me? Oh my gosh. We're really, really, really good at that. And God wants us to repent if we sin, and he wants us to be aware of our failures, simply because he wants us to be righteous and holy and the best we can be. True. Not to condemn ourselves, but just simply to be real and open about our mistakes. He does say to, repent and turn away and come back. I'll always forgive you. But if you can give yourself permission to condemn yourself when you fail or make a mistake or sin, if you give yourself permission to condemn yourself, you have to give yourself permission to give yourself an attaboy when you do something good.
Yes.
So if you are really heavy watching this thing, and I'm guessing this will get virally sent out there because so many people deal with weight issues, and you say it's not worth it. I weigh 600 pounds. I'll never get there. There's no way. And I can't barely walk, and I hate it. And I take 3 steps and I'm winded and guess what? Then take one.
Yes.
Take one step, sit back down and tell yourself,
yes,
I did a step. That, believe it or not, is it where do you want to end up? No. Is it your pristine final solution to where you want to go? Of course not. But when you didn't take that step, you were exactly where you started. That's the problem with getting comfortable, is it's why God doesn't want those of us who he's trying to change and redeem, spiritually, emotionally, physically. He doesn't let us get comfortable, because when you're comfortable, you don't want to move.
God, yes.
I'm just comfortable. I'm in my hammock. I got my Mai Tai. I'm by the beach. I ain't moving. Maybe it's relaxing. Maybe it's enjoyable, but you're not getting anywhere because you're not moving. You have to be uncomfortable to move.
Yes.
I don't like this.
Comfortable being uncomfortable. Yes, you do.
Yeah. And so that's the key. I love, like you said, you kind of gave ways for people to come alongside, try to help, try to understand them. Is there, as we get ready to wrap up here, I guess, is there anything you would want to tell people who don't have weight issues that we don't understand, maybe, about people with weight problems? Just in a nutshell, doesn't be any long, but is there a couple ideas here or there, or thoughts or concepts that can help us at least see things that we haven't seen before, to be a little bit more empathetic with people with weight issues?
Sure. Progress. When we ourselves to others, the Bible says we're not wise. And so through this all is that when I learn to take what I'm doing and take it on me, it shouldn't matter what other people think that don't matter. But we have allowed that to creep in, because the hardest prison to escape is our own mind. So what people that have never been overweight need to understand is it's not a simple fix. It's like going up to a cancer patient and telling them, hey, just drink this and you'll be all right.
Yeah.
Why don't you exercise and, eat the proper food, and then everything will go away? Well, guess what? They have deemed it that it's an endocrine disease, obesity is. Finally, after 100 years, and obesity is getting worse. 1 in 3 children in America, Brad, are obese. And it's not going away unless we stand up to it and come together and bridge the gap.
Well, let me ask you this. I think this is important. There's a new movement called body positivity, which is basically celebrating obesity. What's your thoughts on that?
It's ludicrous. I need to accept myself for being a human. Being fat positive, it's not good. Fat is beautiful. My big, fat, fabulous life. No, it's not fabulous. I beg to differ with you. That's just some ploy to take the responsibility off and the onus off of my life for what I am. But I accept people. I'm a person.
Yeah.
My name is Sean that has fat. I'm not a fat person named Sean. Remember me, and then listen. Don't I can't look at me. I'm beautiful. I'm big and I'm sorry. I tell everybody that. I mean, I don't want to, and I'm a fat person.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me about that. Make sure that you treat us and that we have the things and the tools and the medical and the, the beds in the hospital and more rooms to accommodate us when we're sick, and doctors that are better equipped to give us a solution rather than just you're fat and you're eating too much.
When I see the fat guy girl walking down the aisle of an airplane about to try to find their seat, you're going to have to ask for the belt extension. When I see the fat guy woman that spill out over their chair in the restaurant or whatever, and they're standing in front of the whole world, just trying to sit down and go wherever they're going, just like you, and clearly they're taking up a lot of more space than somebody else, and they're making some people kind of smashed in. I fly all the time, been there. What are they thinking when they're walking down that aisle about to find where they're going to end up seated? What are they enduring so I can understand and see them as that person that deserves some grace and some dignity and some love? What are they thinking as they're being watched, as they're making their way to where they're going to end up?
We want to die. We don't want to exist. And I don't care what you say, an airplane seat, I can barely get one cheek on it. And the average person, it's made for a person that's all the size of a $125 or maybe 200 pounds. And I'm out there, and I've been ridiculed, Brad. I went to a Chili's restaurant, and I was going in with a group of guys because I did public school assemblies. And I'd spoke on truth, choices and consequences. And so my guys were right behind me, and I'm opening up the door for people to come out. I go in, and this guy's looking at me. He's staring at me the whole time, okay? And I'm just like, okay. I'm just look. I said, how you doing? He's just looking at me like in disgust. And there's people all gathered around. And he said to me, he said, why'd you let yourself get that way? He said, you should have never let yourself get that way. You're so far gone that there's no hope for you. And my guys said, man, Sean, let me blast them right. I'm like, oh, come on, stay back. And so he had his wife and his two kids, and his wife was red-faced because he looked like he was built. He had, never probably struggled with obesity in his life, or probably doesn't know somebody, but maybe does, and is just sickened by them. And so what happened was I was looking at him. I said, well, it's a great question. And as I'm talking there, he goes into his pocket, takes out a cigarette, and lights it up. He's smoking, blowing smoke. I said to him, you know what? My obesity, my fat is not affecting anybody but me. I said, you just lifted up and told me because your issue is different, but you're smoking cigarettes, which it says may cause lung cancer on it. And you're picking on my big flaw. We want to take the beam out of somebody's eye, but we have a big mote sticking out of our eye. They let them do that. So I turned to him. I said, you know what? I got here by more than you know.
Yeah.
And I said, besides, I used to smoke. And I said, I don't anymore. Being drug, I don't anymore. I said, I got a lot to learn. He put his cigarette down like this. He said, man, I'm sorry. He said, I never knew that. So guess what? If you don't know, don't be rude.
Yeah. Well, I do believe that most people just immediately assume that if you're fat, you just overeat and you don't care. And that's, those people are there too. They exist too. But there are others who got there by situations that was unfair and unjust that occurred to them, happened to them, that caused this and launched this problem. And obviously there's physical and biological and genetic elements that oftentimes we simply don't even factor in when we're looking at other people's lives and so forth. And it's what makes Christianity so beautiful. We're all made in the image of God. We're all equal, and we should encourage each other and speak things that is life, speak life, but also hold people accountable to truth, because we also care enough about them to say hard things if it can help them come out the other side better than where they started. Let me tell the folks about the Obesity Revolution. This is your website, but it's also a community of folks that can talk to each other and lift each other up and support each other. But it also gives some techniques and principles to help people with weight loss.
What we're doing, Brad, is I told you Robert Reams, which, by the way, he lives down in Nashville. He moved from LA to Nashville, I think, 1.5 years or 2 years ago. Well, what happened, we became immediate friends. He reached out to me, wanted me on his show. And from then, our hearts knit, because he said, man, this is true stuff. And what happened was he ultimately last year became the head trainer and nutritionist for the Obesity Revolution. And he teaches skills, the plate structure. You know, deprivation is also an enemy of progress. You deprive yourself, you're going to go back. You got to learn skills on what I need to eat, the carbs, you know, what's protein, what's fat, you know, what are they doing? So what Robert has done has created the RR way of life and a way to live, doing life. And it's catered to people, not just that need to lose 1 pound, but need to lose 500 pounds. And so he created exercises for people in their bed and in their home, and we do them together. And then what he has the whole plate structure, grocery walkthrough, how to cook, and we have a whole app that's getting ready to come out for people to get on, that they could deal with him, either work personally with him, or if you become a subscriber, and that's a monthly fee, which is unreal, what they can do is then he goes live with them, a live workout that's live, and then also a live nutritional class to help people get everything in line and get the skills themselves so that they don't depend on somebody else doing it for them.
This is like a group that watches simultaneously, or is it one-on-one?
Well, we have one-on-one. So if you choose to do one-on-one, he has a 10-week course that he works with, does everything, all their blood work that he gets them to do, everything from nutrition, comes out with a plan, workout plan, schedule, all that stuff. So then we have it as a group. And as, like I said, they can come in, and we have also a closed group too that has, you know, a couple thousand people in it. And they don't just come in, they got to answer questions, you know what I mean, if they struggle. And it's a community that they come in and say anything and talk about anything to get their voice and get validation.
Yeah. Okay.
And so what we're doing is that, and also my book is out, getting ready to come out too. It's called Addressing the Elephant in the Room, Becoming Larger Than Life. And
is
what I
that
do is I
available
go.
now? Is that on Amazon
It
or
is
your website or whatever?
Yes, it's going to be. It is on Amazon. We haven't made a big announcement about it, but people already found it. And but I didn't even do a launch yet.
Okay.
And so when it goes through my whole life of every vulnerability that I did that got me to where I am. And everybody says, you said about this, I can't spell. Education to me way bye-byes a long time ago. I barely made it through school. But I'm going to tell you what I do have is a heart that cares about people. And my personality. And what they did, they said, you're either going to go to prison, Sean, or you're going to, be able to help people. And because my personality was larger than life, but never thinking that my body would become larger than life.
Right. Well, you're on the way to losing more, right? You've lost 100 and something, and you feel like you're still moving forward. So it'll be exciting to watch you get closer and closer to your goal. And one day, watch the transformation, the before and after, which is always inspiring to people. We've all seen those videos and those photos. And it just does what it needs to do. It shows people that it is possible, that don't give up, don't quit, don't not start. The hardest thing about exercise is the day one, not day 100, because you get used to it, becomes your lifestyle. But I just appreciate you coming on and sacrificing your, I don't know, your privacy perhaps, and putting yourself in a position to be mocked or ridiculed, or who knows what people do, because you're trying to help people. And that's a beautiful, redemptive story. Your weight, obesity, is your crucifixion.
Yes.
So that when you're pulled off the cross and die and are resurrected, that one crucifixion will probably heal who knows how many tens of thousands of people who will lose weight and get healthy, because God chose you not to inflict weight on or to curse you, but to trust you with this life so that you would heal others. That is what it means to live the life of Christ. And you're doing it, brother. So good to meet you, buddy. Glad to know we're on the same team, same family. This is Sean Mulroney. Please go to the Obesity Revolution. If you know somebody that needs this, boy, sign up. If it's you, sign up, get his book, and we will continue to, I'm sure, have you on again, especially as you get some new breakthroughs and see how things are going, and just we'll pray for you, do whatever is necessary. But thank you, brother, for being who you are. And this is God's Comic, Brad Stine, always trying to bring you the most interesting people I can, because, everybody's interesting. Everybody has a story. And if you're wise, you'll realize that you can learn something from everybody. And so this was your foray into learning another side of a story of people who struggle with something you don't. God bless you, Sean.
God bless you, and thank you. I'm honored. I'm with Brad Stine. What the heck?
Oh, well, I'm with Sean Mulroney, so ditto.
Well, I'm like, yes, this is incredible, but you're incredible, and you got the touch of God, and you are God's comic. And it was awesome, Brad. Thanks.
Well, listen, when you think about it, say a prayer for me, because the enemy doesn't like what I do. So
no, I can see that. And I understand, but you know what? We'll pray like everything depends on God, and work like everything depends on us.
Amen. God bless you, brother.
God bless you too, Brad.
Like I said, I wanted to inspire you. 2022 is coming to an end. And there's lots of people that I talk about and talk to every time we do Brad Stine Has Issues. And I hope that you've enjoyed the guests that I've had on and been able to acquire this year. I got some great ones coming next year. They've already been recorded. Wyatt did it. I don't know how, because he tried desperately to screw it up. And somehow he didn't, and that's shocking. So I don't know if that's something we need to depend on in 2023. Time will tell. But speaking of time, as we close out 2022, next Monday will be 2023. It'll be the first Brad Stine Has Issues of the new year, 2023. And I want you to know that I always say I'll see you next Monday. Thank you for showing up. But the truth is, I don't know that I'll be here next Monday. We don't know. None of us know that I won't be dead, or you, or who knows what could take place in a week. We simply have no control over our lives and where they're going and what's going to happen. We just assume, we have faith that things will be just the way we hoped. But sometimes things get changed. Monkey wrenches get thrown into the mix. And so I want you to go out this year inspired. We live in a nation that is having incredible damage to it. From the constitutional standpoint, it seems to be being circumvented by outside forces of the U.S. as well as within those who are elected officials and clearly have their own agenda. We're watching disparities in voting that, if it doesn't get fixed, certainly will make our country nothing that we ever had grown up with or expected it to be. If we don't believe that God is real and make him the single most important thing in our lives, if you're a Christ follower, if you're not following God, do whatever you want. This is all you get. But if you are, you have an obligation to tell everybody you have a chance to, when you are in the position to mention it, that God is real, he showed up, and you should know him. If people claim to be Christians in the United States and don't make it their commitment for 2023, should be for every day of every year, but since we're launching into the new year, if you don't make it your commitment to live this life fully surrendered to God and his calling on your life, you've wasted your time, you buried your talent, and we don't have any more time for posers. We need people who are ready to be warriors. If you don't believe in God and you've watched my podcast over the year, maybe it's inspired you to consider him deeper, and maybe it's something that you might want to make your New resolution, that there is in fact purpose and meaning in life, and if so, it has to come from God. I will go into 2023 changing and innovating things with this podcast and my live events. I hope that are honorable to God and to this nation and to people who care about this nation and want to help support what I'm doing, which is hopefully helping support what they believe in and what this nation stood for and what God expects of us. That's what I'm shooting for. So we're going to be working towards that. We're going to be working towards a lot more content that will be coming out, little smaller clips, as well as some other kind of unique ideas I have that I want to turn into something. And as we walk away from 2022 with my brand new logo, I just want to say thanks once more. You guys did it. You watched. You showed up every Monday. You donated. You brought your time, talents. And you said there's something here that needs to be said. So I'm still here. I'm still going to fight with you. Still going to pray with you. Still going to hope with you. Still going to believe with you. And if God is gracious, Brad Stine, God's comic, and my son Wyatt Stine will be here next year. And hopefully see if we can turn this podcast into something even greater than we had anticipated for this year. So, God bless you, God keep you, and God hold you in the palm of his hand and your family for a brand new year. Let's believe for the best. Why not? And if we go down, let's go down swinging like warriors. Remember, political correctness and cultural Marxism began the destruction of this nation, and it has gained a foothold that may never be overcome. But your job is to try. That's what political correctness is. Cancer that needs to be removed. PC free is liberty. This is God's comic, Brad Stine, saying goodbye 2022. Welcome 2023. And remember, I'll still be doing then what I'm doing today. Putting the woke back to sleep. See you next year.